Ladies and gentlemen, we live in a world that tells us happiness is the ultimate prize. We see it in commercials, hear it in songs, and feel the pressure of it in our everyday lives. But let me ask you, how many times have you chased happiness only to find it slipping through your fingers? You see, happiness, as we've been taught to understand it, is a scam. Not because it doesn't exist, but because it has been packaged and sold to us as something we must constantly pursue, something just out of reach. Always dependent on the next achievement, the next purchase, the next validation. Here's the truth: happiness is not a permanent state of being. It is an emotion, and like all emotions, it comes and goes. Yet we are told to make it the focus of our lives. And in that endless chase, we forget to live authentically. We buy things we don't need, chase careers that don't fulfill us, and seek validation from people who don't even know who we really are. Why? Because we believe those things will make us happy. But let me tell you something. The real secret to a fulfilling life is not happiness, it's contentment. Contentment comes from appreciating the present moment, finding joy in the small things, and embracing the ebb and flow of life. It's about being at peace with where you are, even when things aren't perfect. True fulfillment comes not from chasing happiness, but from living a life of meaning. It's about knowing that life is a mix of highs and lows, triumphs and setbacks. When we embrace that, we allow ourselves to experience the full range of emotions: joy, sorrow, excitement, fear. And in that acceptance, we find real, lasting contentment. So let's stop chasing the illusion of happiness and start embracing life for what it is: a beautiful, messy, unpredictable journey. Because the real scam isn't life without happiness, it's believing that happiness is all there is to life. In today's society, we are constantly told that the pursuit of happiness is essential for a fulfilling life. We're bombarded with messages from media, influencers, and even well-meaning friends and family that happiness should be our #1 goal. This idea is deeply ingrained in our culture, so much so that it feels like an undeniable truth. But have you ever stopped to think about how misleading this pursuit can be? Let's break it down. Happiness is presented to us as the ultimate prize, something we must work tirelessly to attain. It's portrayed as the key to a successful life. And we're led to believe that if we're not happy, then we're somehow failing. This narrative is everywhere, whether it's in motivational books, social media, or even advertisements. It creates an illusion that happiness is the pinnacle of human existence. But in reality, the relentless pursuit of happiness often leaves people feeling more frustrated and unfulfilled than before. The problem with this idea is that happiness, by its very nature, is fleeting. It's an emotion, and emotions are not meant to last forever. Just like sadness, anger, or excitement, happiness is a temporary state that comes and goes. When we start to chase it as if it's something we can hold on to permanently, we set ourselves up for disappointment. Imagine running after a rainbow. No matter how fast or far you go, the rainbow will always be just out of reach. That's exactly what it's like to chase happiness. The more you try to cling to it, the more elusive it becomes. What happens when we fall into this trap? We start to believe that happiness is something external, something we need to acquire. We tell ourselves that we'll be happy when we get that promotion, when we buy that new car, when we finally achieve a certain status. But the truth is, once we reach those milestones, the happiness we feel is often short-lived. That new car eventually loses its novelty, the excitement of the promotion fades, and we're left looking for the next thing that will supposedly bring us lasting joy. This is where the pursuit of happiness becomes misleading. It shifts our focus away from the present and convinces us that our joy is always in the future. We become so consumed with what's next, what goal we need to achieve, what purchase we need to make, that we forget to enjoy the journey. In many cases, this relentless chase leads to stress, anxiety, and a deep sense of inadequacy, because we're constantly comparing our current state with some idealized version of happiness that's always just out of reach. Another layer to this issue is that the idea of happiness has become commercialized. Companies spend billions of dollars convincing us that their products or services will make us happier. From luxury items to self-help programs, we're sold the idea that we can buy our way to a better emotional state. But in reality, these purchases often provide only a brief sense of pleasure or satisfaction, leaving us empty once that feeling fades. The more we buy into this narrative, the more we lose sight of what really matters: our values, relationships, and personal growth. This constant focus on achieving happiness also makes us less resilient. Life is full of challenges, and the belief that we should always be happy sets us up to avoid difficult emotions or situations. When we face hardships, we may feel like something is wrong with us or with our lives because they don't align with the happiness narrative we've been fed. But avoiding discomfort or negative emotions robs us of the opportunity to grow. It's through struggles, setbacks, and even pain that we develop resilience, wisdom, and a deeper understanding of ourselves. Instead of focusing on chasing happiness, it's far more beneficial to embrace a mindset of contentment. Contentment allows us to appreciate life as it is, rather than constantly striving for something more. It helps us find peace in the present moment and appreciate the small, often overlooked joys that surround us. While happiness is fleeting, contentment is more stable. It's a state of mind that doesn't depend on external circumstances. When we let go of the need to constantly pursue happiness, we free ourselves from the cycle of dissatisfaction. We learn to live more authentically, grounded in the reality that life is a series of ups and downs. True fulfillment comes not from endlessly chasing a temporary feeling, but from embracing the full range of human emotions, knowing that they all have value. By shifting our focus away from the misleading pursuit of happiness, we can start living a life that feels more meaningful, balanced, and truly content. Happiness is a feeling that many of us strive for, but it's important to recognize that happiness is not a permanent state. Like all emotions, it is temporary, fluctuating based on our experiences, surroundings, and mindset. Yet, there is a common misconception that happiness should be constant, that once we attain it, it should remain with us forever. This is a myth that can lead to frustration and disillusionment because life, by its very nature, is dynamic. Emotions ebb and flow, and happiness is no exception. Think about it, when we experience moments of happiness, they are often sparked by specific events or achievements. Perhaps you feel a rush of joy after reaching a long-term goal, spending time with loved ones, or even simply enjoying a beautiful sunset. But as wonderful as those moments are, they don't last indefinitely. The feeling of happiness fades as life continues to unfold, bringing new challenges, responsibilities, and experiences. This is the natural rhythm of life, yet many people mistakenly believe that happiness should be the baseline of their emotional state. When happiness inevitably wanes, it can create a sense of failure, as though something is wrong with us for not feeling happy all the time. The idea that happiness is supposed to be constant is often reinforced by society. We are bombarded with messages that suggest happiness is something we can achieve and sustain if only we make the right choices, buy the right products, or follow the right lifestyle. Social media amplifies this illusion as we scroll through images of people who seem to be perpetually happy, enjoying exotic vacations, celebrating milestones, and living what appears to be a perfect life. But what we don't see are the moments in between the struggles, the disappointments, and the mundane aspects of daily life. This selective portrayal of happiness creates an unrealistic expectation that if we're not happy all the time, we must be doing something wrong. The truth is, happiness is one of many emotions we experience throughout our lives. Just as we wouldn't expect to be sad or angry all the time, it's unrealistic to expect happiness to be a permanent fixture in our emotional landscape. In fact, if happiness were constant, we might not even recognize it as happiness. Emotions are meaningful because they provide contrast. Without experiencing sadness, frustration, or even boredom, we wouldn't fully appreciate the moments of joy that life offers. It's also important to understand that the human experience is complex, and our emotional lives are influenced by many factors. External circumstances such as relationships, health, and financial stability certainly play a role in shaping how we feel, but our internal state, including our thoughts and mindset, also has a significant impact. Even when everything seems to be going well, it's normal to have periods where happiness is not the dominant emotion. We might feel content, peaceful, or even neutral, but not necessarily ecstatic. And that's okay. By recognizing that happiness is temporary, we can begin to shift our perspective on what it means to live a fulfilling life. Instead of chasing happiness as the ultimate goal, we can focus on cultivating a sense of balance and acceptance of all emotions. Life is a rich tapestry of experiences, and every emotion has its place. Happiness is just one thread in that tapestry. Sadness, anger, fear, and even uncertainty are also part of what makes us human. Each emotion serves a purpose, guiding us through different situations and helping us grow. Placing too much emphasis on happiness can lead to a cycle of dissatisfaction. When we believe that we should always be happy, we start to feel anxious or frustrated when that emotion isn't present. We may even start to question the quality of our lives, relationships, or personal choices if we're not feeling happy all the time. This constant evaluation of our emotional state can prevent us from fully engaging with life as it unfolds. Instead of enjoying the present moment, we might find ourselves preoccupied with trying to recapture a fleeting feeling of happiness, missing out on the richness of other experiences. It's worth considering that true emotional well-being doesn't come from clinging to happiness, but from embracing the full spectrum of emotions. Accepting that happiness is temporary allows us to enjoy it when it arrives without fearing its departure. It also encourages us to approach difficult emotions with curiosity and openness rather than resistance. When we stop chasing happiness as the ultimate goal, we free ourselves to live more authentically, allowing ourselves to feel whatever arises in the moment. In this way, we can find deeper fulfillment not by holding on to happiness, but by cultivating emotional resilience and a sense of inner peace. Life is filled with ups and downs, and our emotions will naturally shift in response to the changes we encounter. By embracing this reality, we can navigate life with greater ease, knowing that happiness, like all emotions, will come and go, and that's perfectly okay. The idea that consumerism feeds the myth of happiness is a profound one. We live in a world where the line between happiness and material possessions has been blurred, creating a cycle of desire and consumption. From a young age, we are taught, either directly or indirectly, that happiness is something we can buy. Whether it's through advertising, social media, or cultural expectations, we're constantly receiving the message that our happiness depends on acquiring more things, more status, more wealth. But in reality, this constant pursuit of material goods often leaves us feeling empty and unsatisfied in the long run. Advertisements are perhaps the most obvious example of how consumerism feeds into this myth. Every day we are exposed to hundreds of messages designed to make us believe that buying a particular product will improve our lives. Whether it's the latest smartphone, a luxury car, or a designer outfit, these advertisements tell us that happiness is just one purchase away. They tap into our emotions, suggesting that we're missing out on something essential if we don't own a certain product. The underlying message is clear: your life will be better, and you will be happier once you buy what they are selling. But here's the problem: happiness that is based on material possessions is fleeting. When we purchase something new, we often experience a brief rush of excitement or satisfaction. This is known as the hedonic treadmill, a concept that explains how we quickly return to our baseline level of happiness after experiencing something pleasurable. At first, the new item brings joy, but that feeling soon fades, and we find ourselves wanting something else to fill the void. The cycle repeats, leading us to believe that we just need to buy more or better things to be happy. Social media has amplified this phenomenon to an unprecedented level. We are constantly bombarded with images of people showcasing their seemingly perfect lives, filled with luxury vacations, designer clothes, and expensive gadgets. This creates a comparison trap, where we begin to measure our own happiness against the curated, often unrealistic portrayals of others' lives. The desire to keep up with what we see online pushes us deeper into the consumerist mindset, convincing us that we need to buy more in order to be happy, successful, or word-worthy. What's important to recognize is that companies have a vested interest in keeping us trapped in this cycle. The more we believe that our happiness depends on external material factors, the more we will spend. This is why advertisements are so powerful. They are not just selling products, they are selling an idea of happiness. They suggest that owning the right things will make us feel more fulfilled, more attractive, more successful. But the reality is that no product can deliver long-term happiness. True fulfillment comes from within, not from what we own. This is not to say that material possessions are inherently bad or that buying things can't bring joy. There's nothing wrong with enjoying nice things or treating ourselves to something special. But the problem arises when we begin to equate our self-worth and happiness with the things we own. When our identity becomes tied to material possessions, we lose sight of what truly matters in life: our relationships, our passions, our personal growth. These are the things that bring lasting fulfillment, but they often take a back seat to the endless pursuit of more. Another consequence of this consumer-driven approach to happiness is that it leads to a sense of dissatisfaction and restlessness. When we believe that happiness is something external, we are constantly chasing it. We tell ourselves, I'll be happy when I have this, or once I achieve that, I'll be satisfied, but once we reach those milestones, the happiness we were seeking slips away, and we find ourselves setting new goals, buying new things, and repeating the cycle. This constant pursuit prevents us from appreciating the present moment and the things we already have. It creates a mindset of lack where we focus on what's missing rather than what's abundant in our lives. The consumerist approach to happiness can lead to financial strain and stress. Many people go into debt trying to maintain a lifestyle that they believe will make them happy. They spend beyond their means in an effort to keep up with societal expectations or to mimic the images of wealth and success they see online. This financial burden can create significant stress, further detracting from their well-being. Instead of bringing happiness, the pursuit of material goods can lead to anxiety, guilt, and a sense of failure. In contrast, true happiness and fulfillment are not found in material possessions, but in experiences, relationships, and personal growth. Studies have shown that spending money on experiences, such as travel, learning, or time spent with loved ones, brings more lasting joy than buying things. This is because experiences create memories, deepen connections, and contribute to our sense of identity in ways that material possessions cannot. Likewise, investing in our personal development, whether through education, self-care, or creative pursuits, brings a sense of purpose and satisfaction that cannot be bought. To break free from the consumer-driven myth of happiness, we need to shift our mindset. Instead of looking outside ourselves for fulfillment, we should focus on cultivating a sense of gratitude for what we already have. We should invest in the things that truly matter: our relationships, our health, our passions, and recognize that happiness is not something we can buy. It's something we create through the choices we make, the connections we build, and the way we live our lives. By rejecting the idea that happiness is tied to material possessions, we can begin to live more authentically and find true contentment in the things that really matter. Contentment is often misunderstood and overlooked in today's fast-paced, achievement-driven world. We are taught to constantly strive for more, to push for the next big thing, and to believe that happiness is tied to reaching certain milestones. Yet, contentment offers a more profound and lasting sense of fulfillment than the pursuit of fleeting happiness. Contentment is about finding peace in the present moment, appreciating what you have, and cultivating a sense of gratitude. While happiness is often tied to external factors and temporary circumstances, contentment is an internal state that can be maintained regardless of external conditions. The key difference between happiness and contentment lies in their stability. Happiness, as we often experience it, is a momentary emotion that comes and goes based on what is happening in our lives. We might feel happy when we get a promotion, buy something new, or go on vacation. But as soon as the excitement wears off, the happiness fades. Contentment, on the other hand, is more constant. It is the quiet satisfaction that comes from accepting life as it is and being at peace with where you are, regardless of the highs and lows that inevitably occur. Contentment doesn't mean complacency or lack of ambition. It's not about settling for less or giving up on personal growth. Rather, it's about cultivating a mindset that allows you to enjoy the journey, not just the destination. In fact, when you are content, you are better able to pursue your goals from a place of peace and clarity, rather than from a place of desperation or dissatisfaction. People who are content tend to approach life with more balance. They understand that while goals are important, they don't define their self-worth or dictate their emotional state. One of the most powerful aspects of contentment is its ability to free us from the constant comparison and competition that pervades modern life. In a world where we are constantly measuring ourselves against others, whether it's through social media, career success, or personal achievements, it's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that we're never doing enough or that we'll only be happy once we've reached a certain level of success. But contentment allows us to step off this treadmill. It reminds us that we don't need to have everything or be everything to everyone in order to feel fulfilled. Contentment also fosters gratitude. When we are content, we are more likely to notice and appreciate the small, everyday joys in life, things that might otherwise go unnoticed if we're too focused on what we don't have. This can be as simple as enjoying a quiet morning, savoring a meal, or spending time with loved ones. These moments may not bring the intense bursts of happiness that come from major life events, but they bring a deeper sense of satisfaction and well-being. Gratitude, in turn, reinforces contentment, creating a positive cycle that enhances overall life satisfaction. Another important aspect of contentment is its ability to help us navigate challenges and setbacks. Life is unpredictable, and no matter how much we plan or strive, we will inevitably encounter difficulties. When our sense of happiness is tied to external achievements or circumstances, we are more likely to feel devastated or lost when things don't go as planned. Contentment, however, provides a buffer against life's ups and downs. It allows us to maintain a sense of equilibrium even in the face of adversity because our emotional well-being is not entirely dependent on things going our way. This doesn't mean that content people don't feel sadness, frustration, or disappointment. They do, but because they have cultivated an internal sense of peace, they are better able to accept these emotions without being overwhelmed by them. They know that life is a mixture of joy and sorrow, success and failure, and they are able to find peace within that complexity. Contentment allows them to experience the full range of emotions without getting stuck in any one feeling. In addition, contentment helps us focus on the present moment. So much of our unhappiness comes from worrying about the future or dwelling on the past. We get caught up in what we should have done or what might happen, and we forget to appreciate where we are right now. Contentment shifts our focus away from what we can't control and brings us back to the present. It encourages us to make the most of what we have rather than constantly seeking something else.